Hey, what is up everybody? Just a quick little note that we're all the same. People are all the same. I don't care if you're Bin Laden, George Bush, a patriot, liberal, conservative, Russian, we're all the same. And I have proof. This is how. That if you are sitting in traffic and somebody's being a jackass next to you, and then a couple seconds later, they get pulled over by the police, we all celebrate. I don't care who you are. Alright, so what's up everybody? How are you guys doing today? Thanks for checking out this video. Any support for the channel is awesome. I want to talk about three main preps. Getting started in prepping, if you're into prepping, things to kind of look back on to make sure it's as good as you can make it, or if you need to get anything else, that could be a situation that you might come across, but just something to think about. Those three things are going to be food, water, and shelter. Now, these are three things that you are going to have in any survival situation. You might be able to go a little longer without one. You might not be able to go so long without one. For instance, water. You can't go very long without being hydrated, but you can go maybe up to a month without food. But as far as food goes, breaking it down by each one, lots of different ways you can sustain food. You can keep food. The first, most importantly, is to raise your own food, if you have the means to do it. Now, not everybody has the means to have a head count of cattle or sheep or goats or chickens, but there are ways to get around it. For instance, if you live in a city or something like that, there's co-op land that you can work with. It's usually based on gardening, but there might be a place where you might be able to hold some livestock or something like that. Now, when shit hits the fan, you're going to have to do something very quickly. If you leave livestock unattended, in any case, those might not be there when you go to retrieve them. So, you're going to have to figure something out there. If you do have a little bit of land, chickens are great. It's a good sustainable way to have food. Breeding them, if you can hook up a hatching system on solar, that would be great. Hopefully, I don't have enough of the luck on this one, but have broody chickens that'll hatch their own eggs. That would be the ultimate. Then it's just maintenance free. They teach them to eat how they eat, and that's the best way to do it. But if you don't have the means for that, it's worth looking into, or at least stocking up on some of those proteins. If you do have the land, definitely try to take advantage of it. Right now, I don't have the means or infrastructure for larger animals. I have 10 acres here, but we're just not set up for cattle. We are not set up for sheep or goats or anything like that. We don't want goats because they have a tendency to want to surf on vehicles, and we just don't want to deal with that kind of situation when it comes to goats. And I think anybody that's had goats or has goats currently knows exactly what I'm talking about, and we saw it ahead of time. We're just going to avoid it. But definitely, if you can raise your own proteins, that'd be great. The next thing is going to be a garden. Now, this is going to be another co-op situation like I brought up. You'd be able to share some land to be able to grow some stuff. That's not going to get stolen as easy. It's going to be a little bit safer as far as a co-op goes, especially if you have regular people maintaining it or anything like that. But if you do have the means, grow a garden, grow some vegetables, grow things with color. The more colorful a fruit or vegetable is, usually the more nutrients it has in it. So take for instance a green pepper. Does have some nutrient in it, but the purple pepper add in antioxidants and other things into it as well. It's got a little deeper color, more color. That's just a good go-to on what you should probably plant for nutrition. Living in an apartment or something like that, you can go vertical. You can do multiple layers of vertical gardening to where you could feed probably anybody that's going to be in that garden, at least temporarily. And canning is going to be a huge thing when it comes to preserving the food that you grow over the spring and the winter and the fall, to be able to get you through, or spring, summer, and fall to get you through the winter. So Yeah, that would be a good thing to do. Food also, stockpiling a little bit of food, put back some food, make some room. Even if you don't have the room, there are places that you can go and rent, but they do not allow food in there. I'll leave that one up to you. I think you know what I'm talking about. Put some food back. Definitely put back carbohydrates. That's going to give you the energy to get through the day to day. Rice, beans are great. They last for about ever, as long as you don't get rodents in there disturbing it or anything like that. And me personally, I can brush off the waste and still use the products. I know. Canned food lasts for about ever. Freeze-dried food, it's very expensive. It's going to last for a very long time. Now, do you need food that's going to last for 25 to 30 years? No, you don't. You're going to be through that supply long before that's going to come remotely close to expiring. But it's lightweight, and it's something you don't have to worry about as far as expiration. Cans, you eventually do. Dry goods, things that are in bags, pastas, which have a very long shelf life, good carbohydrate, but they do eventually go bad. Especially if they're exposed to moistures and temperature fluctuations and stuff like that. So getting something that is completely sealed or completely preserved, even things like beef jerky can last a very long time, and freeze-dried stuff, canned goods and things like that. Now I will add this in as more of a advanced food preparation, is make things taste good. Get your spices, get sauces, seasonings, herbs, stock up on all that stuff. Dried granulated garlic, freeze-dried onions, freeze-dried herbs. All this is really good because when you're eating rice and beans, well, it's going to start tasting like shit after a while, and you're going to have to spice it up with some jerk seasoning or Cajun seasoning or something like that just to give it a little life. So yeah, I'm going to leave that with food. So water being the most important thing out of all three of these, gonna have to have water. If you don't have the means to get water, stockpile water. Stockpile it in water safe containers. They sell them, they are a little bit expensive, but if you can't even afford that, bottled water. Keep some bottled water around. I would recommend cycling through that as quick as you can because the plastics and stuff like that leach into the water. It makes it less than desirable as far as the taste goes, and you have the toxins that are getting into it as well. So if that's all you can do, throw some cases under the bed, put a case in your car, put a case in the attic, wherever you can fit some bottled water, go ahead and stock up on bottled water, but make sure to use that. If you haven't used it in a while, dump 4 or 5 bottles in for cooking some pasta. You know, just go ahead and cycle through it. It's cheap enough, you can do that. Another thing is going to be water catchment. If you have a house, if you have means to catch the water, even in an apartment, when shit hits the fan, you might be able to tap into a gutter system. You might be able to tap into the water that's coming into the roof. Now you can go to different places, food production places for instance, and get large 50-gallon, 40-gallon tubs. I stocked up on a lot of 40-gallon tubs that you will be able to put water in. Using purification tablets, using a little bit of bleach that you got to make sure that you're doing it right. Chlorine, pull shock, things like that can sterilize the water. It's not going to get absolutely everything out. You might have a chance of getting sick on something, but it's definitely going to be better than not having any water at all. When push comes to shove, you got to take the best of what you got. So definitely something like that, doing water catchment, rain catchment, with proper purification. Also, another thing is there a body of water close by, a lake, river, stream, ocean. Now an ocean's going to be a little bit harder because of the salinity. You could distill it, but I've heard issues with that, and you have anti-salinity processes which are very expensive, very large, and very hard to do. That is why they weren't pulling water out of the Pacific Ocean to put out the Palisades fire. It's very difficult to do. But if you have another body of water, fresh water, something like a pure water filtration system or any filtration system with a charcoal, different layers is going to get you by. I have one that's a 2-gallon. I'm not sure how fast it purifies it, but it's going to be good enough to drink. It's going to be good enough to cook it. Another thing is if you see the situation coming, start filling up your tubs. They sell the bladders that you can put in. Luckily, I have a very big jacuzzi tub that holds water pretty well. I could even go through and further watertight it, but it'll hold water. I think we did about 5 days the last time we did it, and it didn't drop level at all. So definitely with the tub, if it doesn't leak very much, and if you can get a bladder system or something like that. Also, old Coke bottles, any plastic vessel that's going to hold water, you can stockpile a little bit of water in there, again with a water purification of some sort to make it last a little bit longer. Now, one of the easiest one, shelter. You got a roof over your head or you don't. There might be times when you're going to be pushed out of your shelter. You're going to have to come up with some sort of other shelter. You might be able to take residence in another place, maybe an undesirable place. You might be able to go out and bushcraft, go out full-on survival mode and cut down trees and make your own roof out of palm fronds or whatever is available. Shelter is another one. You got to keep warm, you got to keep out of the weather, you got to keep cool. You know, if you are in a place that is going to get to 170 degrees on the inside in the middle of the summer without any AC or electric or something like that, you might need to figure out a different solution to shelter, even modifying the shelter that you have. Another big thing as far as staying out of the weather and keeping regulated to some extent is going to be fortifying it. Are you going to be able to keep what you have inside? Are you going to be able to defend it against anybody that might be coming? Which I'm not a big person on having people coming for my stuff, but that's the area that I'm in. Everybody has a lot of stuff in this whole city that I'm in and multiple cities where I'm at. I don't have to worry about it. If I was in a city, I'd be looking at it a little bit different. I'd be fortifying it. Security cameras, guns and ammo, personal security, things like that. It is illegal in the United States, so I don't recommend it, but booby traps. By setting signals to either stop somebody or notify you that somebody might be coming in an area that they're not supposed to come in. And that could be something as easy as putting bells on a rope, soda cans, beer cans, tying them on very tightly close together on a rope or a string or something like that. And if you can put it in a way that somebody's not necessarily going to see it, like an empty string that they might trip on that's going to trigger the sound, you'll be able to see it. There's a whole road to go down as far as that type of security for your home, but that would be a video on its own because there's a lot to cover there. But definitely having some sort of shelter, having a roof over your head, having a place to put supplies, having a way to defend it is all extremely important as well. So I just kind of wanted to go over those 3 topics on prepping, basic prepping for the most part, and things that you must have in order to have a chance at survival when shit hits the fan. So I'll go ahead and leave it with that. I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, peace.